Hey guys, welcome back to Reader's Corner. Today we are going to feature some work by Ethan Mollick, who is a professor at Wharton. He's really awesome, I have to say. He's done a lot of speeches and as well as written this blog, One Useful Thing, which I highly recommend giving a try. And we're going to feature a post that he wrote last year, September 16th, 2023, when he talks about work. And this is one of his most famous blogs and maybe one of his best. And I really love it because it goes deep into research. There's a lot of charts that are worth getting into. Anyway, let's just get straight into it. So this is called Centaurs and Cyborgs on the Jagged Frontier. I think we have an answer on whether AIs will reshape work. A lot of people have been asking if AI is a really big deal for the future of work. We have a new paper that strongly suggests the answer is yes. For the last several months, I have been part of a team of social scientists working with BCG, Boston Consulting Group, turning their offices into the largest pre-registered experiment on the future of professional work in our AI-haunted age. This is funny because it's a year ago now. Our first working paper is out today. There is a ton of important and useful nuance in the paper, but let me tell you the headline first. For 18 different tasks, selected to be realistic samples of the kinds of work done at an elite consulting company, consultants using ChatGPT-4 outperformed those who did not by a lot on every dimension, every way we measured performance. Boom. So here's that big chart here. Quality improvement from using AI across 18 tasks. Sorry, I'm obscuring it. Distribution of quality output across all the tasks. Blue group did not use AI. The green and red groups used AI. Red group got some additional training on how to use AI. So their quality improvement is slightly more. So clearly AI, that differential is meaningful. Consultants using AI finished 12.2% more tasks on average, completed tasks 25% more quickly, and produced 40% higher quality results than those without. Those are some very big impacts. Now, let's add in the nuance. First, it is important to note that this effort was multidisciplinary, involving multiple types of experiments, hundreds of interviews, conducted by a great team, including the Harvard social scientists Fabrizio Dell'Acqua, Edward McFarland, and Karim Lakhani, Hila Lifshitz Asaf from Warwick Business School, and Catherine Kellogg of MIT, plus myself. Saren Redrendran, Lisa Crayer, and Francois Kendelan, sorry for butchering, ran the experiment on the BCG side using a full 7% of its consulting force, that's 758 consultants. They all did a lot of very careful work that goes far, far beyond the post, so please look at the paper to make sure you get all the details. So, of course, we're not going to go over that today, especially if the questions about numbers or methods. I need to simplify a lot to fit 58 pages of findings into a post, and any mistakes are mine, not my co-authors. Also, while we pre-registered these experiments, this is still a new working paper, so there might be errors, mistakes. With that in mind, let's get into the details. Okay, so clearly a lot of people, these are social scientists and consultants, so sounds like they were pretty thorough, which I love. I mean, I love to see more social science in this space, especially. I think it's really important. Inside the Jagged Frontier, AI is weird. No one actually knows the full range of capabilities of the most advanced large language model like GPT-4. No one really knows the best ways to use them or the conditions under which they fail. There is no instruction manual. On some tasks, AI is immensely powerful, and on others, it fails completely or subtly. And unless you use AI a lot, you won't know which is which. The result is what we call the jagged frontier of AI. Imagine a fortress wall with some towers and battlements just jutting out into the countryside while others fold back towards the center of this castle. That wall is the capability of AI, and the further from the center, the harder the task. That's interesting. The wall is the capability of AI, and the further from the center, the harder the task. Everything inside the wall can be done by the AI. Everything outside is hard for the AI to do. The problem is that the wall is invisible, so some tasks that might logically seem to be the distance away from the center and therefore equally difficult, say writing a sonnet and an exactly 50-word poem, are actually on different sides of the wall. The AI is great at the sonnet, but because of how it conceptualizes the world in tokens rather than words, it consistently produces poems of more or less than 50 words. Interesting. Similarly, some unexpected tasks like idea generation are easy for AIs, while other tasks that seem to be easy for machines to do, like basic math, are challenges for LLMs. I mean, this makes sense from the perspective of we're training based on language, right? But nevertheless, like language is giving rise to AI understanding concepts, of which math is an assortment of concepts. I think it's interesting here that that idea generation is easy. Although I would say that What kind of idea generation? How are we qualifying that? I mean, I do use AI to brainstorm, but usually I use it to like, push myself to think about something differently, but AI doesn't usually give me an interesting answer that I actually use. So he says, I asked the ChatGPT with Code Interpreter to visualize this for you. And I think this is kind of the jagged frontier, right? And sometimes it can actually do things and sometimes it can't. And this is the task inside, outside the frontier. Makes sense. Equal difficulty task. Okay, yeah, so this is on the outside. To test the true impact of AI on knowledge work, we took hundreds of consultants and randomized whether they were allowed to use AI. We gave those who were allowed to use AI access to GPT-4, the same model everyone in 169 countries can access for free with Bing, or by paying $20 a month to OpenAI. No special fine-tuning or prompting, just GPT through the API. We then did a lot of pre-testing and surveying to establish baselines and asked consultants to do a wide variety of work for a fictional shoe company, work that the BCG team had selected to accurately represent what consultants do. There were creative tasks, propose at least 10 ideas for new shoe targeting in an underserved market or sport, analytical task, writing and marketing task, persuasive tasks. So there's a lot of assortment here. Interesting. We even checked with a shoe company executive to ensure that this work was realistic, and they were. And knowing AI, these are tasks that we might expect to be inside the frontier. In line with our theories, and as we have discussed, we found that the consultants with AI access did significantly better, whether we briefly introduced them to AI first or did not. This was true for every measurement, whether the time it took to complete tasks, the number of tasks completed overall, or the quality of the outputs. We rated that quality using both human and AI graders who agree with each other. Itself is an interesting finding. So here we go. We got all of that here. Let me check, make sure that I'm not obscuring it too much. Yeah, okay, I'm good. So horizontal lines, each is this, okay, average regression. The figure displays a series of horizontal lines, each representing the estimated treatment effect for a specific regression as evaluated by human graders and linear. In total, there are 54 lines of regression. These are the 3 regressions reported in the column. Treatment control. Oh, so the score is going up, I guess, here? Is that what's saying here? The treatment always showed improvement in performance. So this is the original of the control, and this is the performance. Okay. We also found something else interesting, an effect that is increasingly apparent in other studies where it works as a skill leveler. The consultants who scored the worst when we assessed them at the start of the experiment had the biggest jump in their performance, 43%, when they got to use AI. Now this, I mean, this is so interesting because is this like provocative philosophically, right? It works as a skill leveler. Now, is this going to be the impact of AI on humanity at large? When everybody gets access to AI, is it going to skill level everybody? Right? It's going to bring everybody to a certain level of performance or productivity, not necessarily like intelligence, but to a certain level of performance. The top consultants still got a boost, but less of one. Looking at these results, I do not think enough people are considering what it means when a technology raises all workers to the top tiers of performance. It may be like how it used to matter whether miners were good or bad at digging through rock until the steam shovel was invented, and now differences in digging ability do not matter anymore. Oh my God, what a great series of sentences here. AI is not quite at that level of change, but skill leveling is going to have a big impact. Now that, I mean, such an interesting point, right? Here, look at this as differential here. Bottom half skilled participants, top half skilled participants. So that differential is less, but they all kind of rose their baseline. Outside the jagged frontier, but there is more to the story. BCG designed one more task, this one carefully selected to ensure that the AI couldn't come to a correct answer. This wasn't easy. As we say in this paper, since AI proved surprisingly capable, it was difficult to design a task in this experiment outside the AI's frontier where humans with high human capital doing their job would consistently outperform AI. But we identified a task that used the blind spots of AI to ensure it would give a wrong but convincing answer to a problem that humans would be able to solve. Indeed, human consultants got the problem right 80% of the time without AI help, but when consultants used the AI, they did worse, only getting it right 60 to 70% of the time. What happened? Ooh, this is an interesting one. In a different paper than the one we worked on together, Fabrizio Dell'Acqua shows why relying too much on AI can backfire. In an experiment, he found that recruiters who used high-quality AI became lazy, careless, and less skilled in their own judgment. All right, they missed out on some brilliant applicants and made worse decisions than recruiters who used low-quality AI or no AI at all. When the AI is very good, humans have no reason to work hard and pay attention. They let the AI take over instead of using it as a tool. He called this falling asleep at the wheel, and it can hurt human learning, skill development, and productivity. Ooh, that is super interesting also. So on one side, we have this point here where AI is a skill leveler, And this other point here that when the AI is good enough, humans become lazier. This makes sense, right? Because you're kind of shipping your cognition, you're shipping the hard work that you do with your brain to the AI, and that is 100%, I think, going to happen. Now, in the context of like, what would you do if you had more time to do the things that you wanted to do? What would you do with that? Would you like create Gmail, right? Gmail came out of Google's like extra 10% time. So like people were just playing around and they came with Gmail, and Gmail's a huge product now. So are we going to enter a scenario where people are going to be able to create whatever they want with the extra time they have, although they're lazy in their main task? I don't know. Or they could be just generally lazy. And do we end up in a world that we saw in Wall-E, right, where all of humanity is just a bulbous sitting on like floating robots that feed them whenever they want, right? Or are we going to be in a scenario where it unlocks more creativity? I think it might be both. It might be both. And so like we are going to get a level up in people's abilities and performance, and we're going to get a laziness. It's really interesting. In our experiment, we also found that the consultants fell asleep at the wheel. Those using AI actually had less accurate answers than those who were not allowed to use AI, but they still did a better job writing up the results than the consultants who did not use AI. The authoritativeness of AI can be deceptive if you don't know where the frontier lies. Interesting. So I think that's a great point in general. I wonder if that's going to continue to be true as AI gets better, right? It will be more accurate, and therefore people will not have to correct it as much. They're just going to ship whatever hey, you want me to write a report? I'll just input the data manually, and then I'll just let the AI write it and not check it, right? Centaurs and cyborgs. But a lot of consultants did get both inside and outside the frontier task right, gaining the benefits of AI without the disadvantages. The key seemed to be following one of two approaches, becoming a centaur or becoming a cyborg. Fortunately, this does not involve any actual grafting of electronic gizmos to your body or getting cursed to turn into the half-human, half-horse of Greek myth. They are rather two approaches to navigating the jagged frontier of AI that integrates the work of person and machine. Centaur work has a clear line between person and machine, like the clear line between the human torso and the horse body of the mythical centaur. Centaurs have strategic division of labor, switching between AI and human tasks, allocating responsibilities based on the strengths and capabilities of each entity. When I am doing an analysis with the help of AI, I often approach it as a centaur. I will decide on what statistical techniques to do, but then let the AI handle producing graphs. In our study at BCG, centaurs would do the work they were strongest at themselves and then hand off tasks inside the jagged frontier to the AI. I mean, I think that's great, right? I think that's how one ought to use AI. And it's so funny because I meet so many people who don't do that. They just kind of assume AI can do everything. They don't check it, and they kind of assume that AI can do the strongest part rather than assuming that you should do the strong part, the conceptualization or whatever, asking the right questions, and then having AI complete like the puzzle for you. So it's interesting, and I wonder if that's just going to be more and more true. That's going to be more and more frequent to see that discrepancy. On the other hand, cyborgs blend machine and person, integrating the two deeply. Cyborgs don't just delegate tasks, they intertwine their efforts with AI, moving back and forth over the jagged frontier. Bits of tasks get handed to the AI, such as initiating a sentence for the AI to complete so that cyborgs find themselves working in tandem with the AI. This is how I suggest approaching using AI for writing, for example. It is also how I generated two of the illustrations in the paper, the Jagged Frontier image and the 54-line graph, both of which were built by ChatGPT with my initial direction and guidance. Oh, that's brilliant that he made these with ChatGPT, or well, this one I believe, at least, which is a pretty cool graph. Although I have to say, I think I misread basically centaurs. I guess centaur. My recommendation was cyborgs. I think a centaur is kind of like you're just shipping and you're not in a conversation. Whereas cyborgs here, it is a conversation, which I guess makes more sense, right? And that's kind of the point that he's making, is that you're kind of going back and forth, which is how I recommend using it for sure. I think what I was kind of emphasizing is rather this point that people just kind of they just assume that AI is going to do the more complete work. Like, hey, I want you to solve this problem for me, rather than bringing the solution and then having like AI like reformat it or brainstorm it or hone it, is what the point I was making, which I guess is more in line with what he means here by cyborgs. He has a chart here. Centaur practices using AI to refine input from using user strength. Okay, so that is kind of what I was thinking in terms of refining. And then cyberprise using AI to validate work and requesting editorial changes. Okay, so this is like more of getting editorial changes in this kind of. It's very subtle, I have to say. It's a subtle difference here. So on one side, let's to clarify here, it's a clear line between person and machine. So you're shipping it to the AI and then having it complete the work. Here, you're like in a more conversational editing process, right? Where you're going back and forth with the AI. Dancing on the Jagged Frontier. Our paper, along with a stream of excellent work by other scholars, suggests that regardless of the philosophical and technical debates over the nature and future of AI, it is already a powerful disruptor to how we actually work. Agree. And this is not a hyped new technology that will change the world in 5 years or that requires a lot of investment and the resources of huge company. It is here now. The tools the elite consultants use to supercharge their work are the exact same as the ones available to everyone reading this post. And the tools the consultants used will soon be much worse than what is available to you because the technological frontier is not just jagged, it is expanding. I'm very confident in the next year, well, we're in the next year, at least 2 companies will release models more powerful than GPT-4. The jagged frontier advances and we have to be ready for that. Now, I guess GPT-4, we got 01, 03. Maybe you could argue Cloud Sonnet as beating GPT-4 as well. We've also released 4.0, so that frontier has been advanced. Even aside from any anxiety that statement might cause, it is also worth noting that the other downsides of AI, people really can go on autopilot when using AI, falling asleep at the wheel and failing to notice AI mistakes. And like other research, we also found that AI outputs, while of high quality than that of humans, we're also a bit homogeneous and samey in aggregate. Now this, of course, right? Because at a certain point, if you interact with AI enough, you start to see how similar AI posts are to each other. The way that AI formats things, it doesn't feel as natural in a certain way, but maybe that's going to go away as it gets more advanced. And I do find that if I prompt an AI in a way where I say, hey, be more natural, be more similar to these other writing styles, it does a good job. So, which is why cyborgs and centaurs are important. They allow humans to work with AI to produce more varied, more correct, and better results than either humans or AI can do alone. And becoming one is not hard. Just use AI enough for work tasks, and you will start to see the shape of the jagged frontier and start to understand where AI is scarily good and where it falls short. No, I definitely agree with this. I mean, I think most people who have a certain perception about AI don't quite understand where the jagged frontier is. So I really like that kind of modality. And I think that's why there's a lot of this kind of like people who are anti-AI and they are, in my opinion, kind of wrong at the wrong thing, mad at the wrong things. So he ends with, in my mind, the question is no longer about whether AI is going to reshape work, but what we want that to mean. We get to make choices about how we want to use AI help to make work more productive, interesting, and meaningful. But we have to make those choices soon so that we can begin to actively use AI in ethical and valuable ways as cyborgs and centaurs, rather than merely reacting to technological change. Meanwhile, the jagged frontier advances. And I like this person who brought this out here. On some tasks, AI is immensely powerful, and others it fails completely or subtly. And unless you use AI a lot, won't know which is which, which I completely agree with. I think that's a key point here. And I really love this jagged frontier framework, and just to visualize really what are the frontiers of AI? What is it good at? What is it not good at? Right? And knowing where we stand on this when you're playing around with it. Sometimes the things you're asking AI, it's like way outside of its comfort zone, and it can't really solve that problem for you. So I think pushing this frontier as a user, and of course as companies who are building, is the way that you are able to push yourself further. Like you're able to be more creative, more original, more productive, etc., by pushing that frontier and understanding what that frontier is. So such a great post. And here's the original. I guess it was posted in Harvard Business School. Or no, here we go. It's published here on SSRN, and navigating the jagged technological frontier, field experimental events of the effects of AI on knowledge worker productivity and quality. So, yeah, really cool. Maybe it's worth if you want to get really nerdy, checking out the full entire post here. But in either case, thanks everybody. See you in the next Reader's Corner. Let me know what I should read, and I will read it and we'll talk about it. So thanks, guys.